Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Parent Digital Duo podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Falls. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about preparing for parenthood. I am a recent parent. I have young kids, and I wanted to provide a resource that helps other young parents, maybe even some parents that are struggling, to prepare for the digital age, for being a parent, for having a lot of our lives online, having that lens of security and cybersecurity, I think is very helpful to making those conscious decisions that could help your kids early on. And again, as they grow up, you can manage their devices, manage yourself, and manage life a little easier here in the digital age. So, again, a new parent, and I wanted to create kind of an informal, approachable podcast that could really help people. Obviously, I have the Bastion Network going on here with resources for students, for parents, for career professionals, and for businesses. But I do want to focus on preparing for parenthood as a concept. And really, that comes down to finding that mental clarity, stability, and realizing that you might be kind of ready for becoming a parent and answer some of those questions that people have in a more podcasty format. So for me, my mental space and stability obviously was get your career in order, get your finances in order, and being of an age where you're a little more responsible definitely helps. But if you don't have those things together, we'll give tips and tricks throughout this podcast to get to those spots. So for me, I know that we spent about 6 months preparing for parenthood by changing our lifestyle, cutting out alcohol, really getting our diet and savings in order so that we could approach that step of becoming parents with a little more stability. And I think that's a great place to start is to focus on those things, think about where you are, and really work with your partner to find where you meet in those goals to make things a little more stable in your life. Create stability in your finances by creating those savings through a high yield savings account or the like. And again, this is not financial advice, but just something that, I've done and I wanted to share. And make sure that you have the space to foster that growth of a child. You don't want to be in a situation where you don't have room or you don't have that flexibility through creating a space for work and for play and all of the things that are required. And look at your support network. Prepare by creating those support fixtures in your life, like relatives, parents, siblings that might be able to help in the time that it takes to prepare for becoming a parent. Look at those relationships and realize that maybe you can lean on other people for some support. And it might be super helpful to have that in the early stages, and especially around the time that you're in the hospital and welcoming your child into the world. You're able to rely on the support of others. And, it does kind of take a village. So think about all of these things as you start preparing. Create a great timeline and work on those goals with your partner to knock those things out and create that essence of stability. After we come back, we're going to think about parenthood as a whole, and then we'll start with parent health and fitness. That's one of the first posts that I wanted to get into with preparing for parenthood. If you're a parent that is looking to help your child get started in college or help them through their studies in high school or even younger, go ahead and head over to the Student Digital Duo podcast and check out the resources we have on the Bastion Network, all family friendly. But these tips and tricks will really help students succeed in the academic space as we utilize digital resources. And we're back. So, thinking about how we prepare for parenthood, it's really about creating a space in your life centered around stability in your relationships and stability in your career and being generally ready and happy for becoming parents. Obviously, not everyone plans to become parents, and you might need to accelerate that timeline. But again, it's working out those kinks in your relationship and really approaching how difficult life currently is to be a parent in the digital age and how you can really work to smooth out all of those kind of rough edges in your life. So, work with your partner, improve your relationship, improve your communication skills because you will need them as you become a parent, become um, the guardian of a small person. It's really important to be working on your relationships every day, thinking about parenthood on that timeline of, hey, maybe, we put 6 months towards improving all of things, creating cleaning routines, creating better ideas around diet, around exercise, and creating that life balance that helps you succeed because you're going to need all of that structure to really rely on when you have a million things going through your head and a baby to care for. You want that stuff to kind of be on autopilot already so that when you meet chaos, you have a plan and you have something that you and your partner have really worked on. I tend to kind of revisit that a lot and make those changes in the week to week kind of structure that we have. And you might want to think about that when you're thinking about preparing for parenthood is, do I have that element of structure? Do I have these routines that are really supportive, or do I have destructive routines that I'm constantly trying to play catch up with, to get back to stability? Obviously, you want all of that set up before you kind of move toward that path of starting a family. So, in that same line, we're going to look at parent health and fitness. Obviously, I said I took about 6 months to really clean up my diet and the fitness level that I want to have. Cutting out alcohol is really important. Getting on a structured diet where you're getting enough nutrients and you're not constantly um, leaning on fast food, leaning on restaurants. And again, it helps in those early stages to have that routine around your diet, like being able to cook and being able to plan ahead for meals, because you're going to need to have all of that stuff kind of ready to go. And, obviously, there's not a perfect way to do this. Some people just wing it, and you might not feel too guilty about going through a couple months. Um, After having the baby, or even a couple years where you're not doing all of those things like cooking and meal planning and really working on diet because you have other priorities, and that's okay too. I mean, if you're in that position to be able to lean on those resources, go ahead and do it and do what's comfortable for you. But for me, it took about 6 months to get kind of in that headspace of like, we're going to eat healthy, we're going to do well, and really kind of be mindful of staying active and making sure that we're not getting injured. And again, then when you're starting a family, when you're working on that, you're in kind of like the peak physical shape that you can be in, which gives you the best chances for obviously, moving forward with this whole endeavor. You want to kind of have that peak level of health at, or even just a general good level of health, feel good. And obviously that will translate to um, better things and better outcomes as you, again, meet the chaos of welcoming a child into the world. So, in this first episode, think about preparing for parenthood and maybe look at that mental space, look at the stability in your life, and we're here kind of just to help people. It's going to be, again, very informal. Going to jump in with these kind of solo episodes and give my thoughts on all of the different things and share a bit of my path, and maybe that helps people out. It's all about just bringing value to the table and building this security in the Bastion network, whether again we're working on parents or your career or students as your kids grow up. Obviously, try to utilize some of the tips that we have and resources that we have to help them out. Everyone is going to come here from a different spot, and again, I realize that life is kind of challenging in the digital age. Everything moves very quickly, and I would love to have, that conversation and answer questions and kind of just, bounce ideas off each other. Obviously, I'm learning things every day that work a little bit better in my schedule and my, career and in my personal life. So I wanted to create an outline and an outlet that everyone can kind of subscribe to, jump in on, and generally, it's just a big journey. So I thank you for joining in. Catch us in the next episode here on the Parent Digital Duo podcast, and check out our other resources over on the Bastion Network, Patreon, and Twitch and stuff. But thank you guys again for tuning in, checking things out, and there's more to come. So this is kind of just a general introduction. But other than that, take care of yourselves, and we will catch you in the next episode.